Welcome to the Transform Your Wealth and Health podcast, where experts in wealth, health, and fitness help transform your life. Here's your host, Andy Arter.
This is a Just Me podcast about doing too much, burning the candle at both ends, and how lack of sleep affects your body. As you can probably hear, I've got a cold, chest issues, and I've been laid low a little bit lately. But I believe it was all avoidable. So it's apologies for the voice, but it gives us a chance to talk about it. Are we trying too hard? Are we trying too hard at times? I believe I've been doing so lately anyway. It ends up with us putting our health at risk. So you hear all the time about hustle and grind, and I'm a big advocate for people pushing hard to get what they want, but where do you draw the line? I'd like to go to the edge many times, but I feel I've overdone it, and this time I'm paying the price. I love Gary Vaynerchuk, by the way, and he's always grind and hustled, etc., etc., but I've listened to some of his podcasts lately where he's talking about him getting 7 hours sleep a night nowadays, and also sleeping up to 11 hours at the weekend. Now, that'd be a luxury for me at the minute. So I know what he means when he says he's actually earned that right to do that because he's pushed himself really hard and been very, very successful. So good on Gary. I'm still pushing towards it. And I've got a 9-to-5 job, which usually turns into an 8-till-6. What with other things and family commitments, etc., and preparation and paperwork and other things you have to do when you go to work. You've got your family and household commitments too. Eating, washing, just daily, ordinary things that you do. There's not a lot left of a day once you've done all those kind of stuff. It's more or less going to take up 12 hours a day working, let's say, and then with the other additional things that you do, there's not a huge amount less for your hustle and grind of your side hustles, let's call it. So I started eating into my sleep, and this obviously, if you do it for a long period of time, has an impact on your health. And I believe that I've caused my own problems with the chest infection and cold, etc. I'm not dying, by the way. But, I've caused my own problems because I was chipping away at my sleep. And I started to look into it. And there's an article that's online, and it's by a company called Healthline, I believe it was, and they were talking all about this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna come back to that in a little while, but I'll give you some of the things, and I never knew this, of how lack of sleep can affect your body. But I'll come back in a little while to that. So originally, I was looking after my body. I was doing a lot of exercise. June the 1st, I started to go into a program where I was working really hard every day with exercise and putting a ton of mindset effort into what I was eating, and lost 30 pounds in weight over a 90-day period. Everything was hunky-dory. Lately I've been concentrating on other things and not quite so successful on that, let's be honest. I've not gone up too many pounds. A decent run or two would probably get me back on track, so I'm not going to worry about that much. But I've lost some focus, and I need to kickstart some of these projects again. I said, they're difficult. You can't do every single thing all the time. The podcast, for example, not normally a big money maker, but there's always the exception to the rule. John Lee Dumas, with his Entrepreneur on Fire podcast, turns over $250,000 per month sometimes, so that would be nice. He's doing a daily podcast and putting a huge amount of effort in. He's turned it from something that I think the first 2 years he never actually made a bean. He's turned it from that into a $250,000 per month project. So you've got to work hard. I mean, how did this guy do that? I mean, he now sounds like a professional presenter. Originally, he was a soldier. So it's not his background. He had to learn it all. He was learning on the job, really. He says, don't listen to some of my early stuff. It's absolute rubbish. But he's very good nowadays. You'd think that he'd been doing it for years. I mean, literally. So as things got towards the business end of the podcast, magazine, Facebook group, website, Facebook page launch, and podcast guests were being booked up and podcasts were being batch recorded, I didn't want to just have one or two to go out. I wanted a bit of backlog, so if I was to get ill, like I was, you'd have some way of making sure that you could still put a podcast out. So there's just 1 or 2 now in reserve where there should have been a fair few. Then there was the magazine. Now, truth to say, I don't do all of this stuff on my own. I have some helpers. So anyone that knows me knows my son Dan does all of my technical backup and helps me on all of the stuff that I need to do that's anything techie. Anything to do with websites and social media, he helps me out. I'm not the best, and he's there to pick up on all the things that I don't know anything about, which is a lot of stuff. I mean, he's a youngster and I'm an old guy. So there you go. He's a great person to have by your side when it comes to this technical stuff. Now, his girlfriend, Holly, she's just passed a university degree and is looking for a job, by the way. So if anybody's out there that's looking for someone that would be able to help, perhaps an editorial design, she's your lady, because she helped on the magazine. It was absolutely fantastic. The editorial design of it looks superb. My daughter Kate Louise has a lot of experience on YouTube. She's got 16,500 subscribers, and she's also taught me a lot of stuff, and I'm setting up a YouTube channel too. So it's a matter of me being on a huge learning curve. I had responsible youngsters with me to see it through, though. Even so, pushing my sleep down to a few hours a night for long periods of time had a detrimental effect on me. I brought this up on Facebook once, asking people who got up early or people who stayed up late to get things done, whether they preferred early or late for a reason. And a doctor came onto the Facebook chat and he said, watch what you're doing with your sleep. And he started to tell us all about the things, certain parts of your body that can be affected. And this Healthline article that I found online as well goes into it in a little bit more detail than the doctor did. So I didn't realise at the time, but it can put you at risk of heart disease, heart attacks and strokes. One paper published by the European Journal of Preventative Oncology linked these all to sleep deprivation. Pretty serious stuff. Now there's also the central nervous system. Sleep is necessary to keep it functioning as it should do. It works like most motorways or highways of the body, enabling the main body parts to function as they should. Lack of sleep can disrupt it. My mood is always a lot poorer with a bad night's sleep. But in severe cases, it could lead to paranoia, depression, and even suicide. Problems with the respiratory system makes you more susceptible to colds and flus. What a surprise. So if you have any existing problems like sleep apnea or chronic lung illness, you will find you are much more at risk. Lack of sleep makes you eat more. Yeah, I'm going to repeat that. Lack of sleep makes you eat more. It's scientific. Leptin tells your brain that you've had enough to eat. Without enough sleep, your brain reduces leptin and increases ghrelin. Hope I pronounced these things right, which controls feelings of hunger and fullness. Now that would explain why I eat so much food intake at night. When I look at what I'm eating, I eat a tremendous amount more at night than I do during the day. So I'm tired. My body's taking over and telling me I need to eat. So also, if you're tired, you probably don't fancy a huge exercise workout. So not only are you taking on more calories, but you're not expending enough either. There's other things too, including hormone production. Testosterone, for example, needs at least 3 hours of uninterrupted sleep to be produced correctly. Now, I thought my lack of bulging muscles was because I didn't get to the gym enough, but apparently it's just because I'm not sleeping enough. There you go. Who'd have thought it? What's probably more relevant to me at the moment is the immune system. This is where I believe I have overstepped the mark. Your immune system produces protective infection-fighting substances like cytokines. I hope I pronounced that right, but I doubt it. Cytokines also help you to sleep, building up your immune system even further. Your body needs energy to defend against infections, disease and illness. It all makes perfect sense, and I'm hoping that I've learned my lesson here. And guess what? Long-term sleep deprivation also increases your risk of diabetes and heart disease, something that I've had in the family, and also been told that I am a borderline diabetic and I've got a heart issue too. What another big surprise, eh? That said, I'm off for a nap. Better make it a long snooze because I need it. Either way, I'm determined to improve and increase my wealth and health. If you subscribe to the podcast at the end of October, we're going to do a draw and everybody will get a prize. We're going to have physical books and ebooks and discounted products from the guests that are on the show. So if you subscribe and send me an email at transformyourwealthandhealth@gmail.com to let me know that you've done so, then we will put you in the draw, and we'll make the draw at the end of October and let the winner know. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and until next time, start transforming your wealth and health now.